I think now we're having to look at, in the recruitment side of things, that for whatever reason we're not getting through the very qualified, experienced members of staff.
I've done 2 days training on waxing and wax.
Or I'm qualified, but in 1980.
I remember recruiting someone or kind of talking to a candidate who called herself the Queen of Eyebrows.
Yeah.
And when you looked at her qualification, it was literally 2 days.
A 2-day course.
But I've got loads of experience. Yeah, that's one thing. Yeah. But also, don't come near my eyebrows.
Yeah.
And let's discuss,
Yeah. But, so I was always very much of the mindset that you have minimum level 3 qualification before you even walk through the door. And then, and then we look at what areas you can, you'll excel in, or what's your specialist area. But then I did have somebody that, didn't have that qualification, but had done all courses individually. But actually her main one was eyebrows, and she was very good at that. And eyebrows for us in the business at the time was a very lucrative treatment to do. So I did change my mindset a little bit on that. Okay, she would never have gone on to skin or so on, but we had enough business, the business was strong in that area, that we could accommodate somebody focusing on that area. So I needed to kind of reset my mindset to think this is okay if the qualification is there in that subject and in that treatment area, and she is very good at it. Why would I say no?
I think the struggle there is at the moment is because you haven't got enough staff in the business, you're then thinking, I'm going to take on someone that I'm going to have to either train further, and I don't have the resources, and I don't have the time necessarily to recruit further, and or to take that time with that person. So it's a kind of a double-edged sword, isn't it, where you kind of feel, well, I don't have much choice. Yes, the business can warranty this particular person to come on board. Maybe you need to tweak a few things or teach her your ways. But ultimately, if you don't take the time to train, you are going to go around in circle constantly.
And I have heard that when I was chatting to a client the other day, and I said, have you looked, have you gone to the local college, have you done this, have you done that? And their response was, I don't want someone who's not trained and not of a senior level. I'm not willing to do it. And I get that, because I know that position you're in, and you're tired of the training, or you've just trained someone and they've left and so on, and you just don't want to think about having to go through that again. But I feel the reality is that right now, if that is all that's out there, or if they're a good candidate but they don't quite have that level of experience, or you are going to have to somehow work into the business.
Do you find that the existing staff that are senior level tend to stay where they are, perhaps a little bit more of the devil rather than kind of adventure out at the moment because they're uncertain of the economy, if the business I'm going to is not going to last or whatever? So do you feel there's an element of perhaps less quality stuff coming through the doors because they're staying where they are, less movement? So ultimately, what choice do you have if you don't take that time and figure out a way of training that is a win-win situation? But there's also a lot of owners, I feel, that are throwing the whole training out in the 3 months probation. Here we go, let's train you so you can do all of these things. But you're thinking, but why?
Yeah, because you don't need to, and it is revising, isn't it, what you're training in, not feeling like they have to be ready to be on the floor for every single treatment. Start off with a couple of key treatments so that they can start to build their column, and then the training will follow. But it's not putting that pressure on yourself to get them 1,000,000% up to date with everything before they actually start working for you.
And there should be a individual development plan of, okay, the first 3 months we want you to do this, it's going to be that many hours training. Again, it's going back to planning, back to budget, making sure you've got a training bond, although that's disputable on some occasions as well, whether it's legal in some ways or not. But if you're protecting all of the business, if you've got a plan of action for the whole year ahead with that individual, then surely that taking that time will be in a way rewarding. And it's also having that mindset around the fact that you are going to lose some staff members.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean you're going to not lose them straight away. It can be that you're taking on someone. I remember thinking, this is a different person from the interview that I had with her. What's happened there?
Yeah.
Because the interview is only going to give you a certain aspect until they work in the business.
I mean, I've definitely had that myself as well, you know, where they come across amazing in the interview and, you know, you think, wow, great one. 2 weeks in, you're thinking, wow. Oh, why? What happened? Yeah. And,
is it me?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's just, you know, everyone's in the same boat, and it is just kind of just taking a deep breath and thinking, you know, you're a business owner for a reason. It comes with its challenges, and yes, I get it as an owner. You're tired. You don't want to go through it again, but there isn't a set answer. There isn't like, well, you know, you could just wait for that one person to come along, but in the meantime, you could have, you know, some simmering in the background. Obviously, it depends on the budget, but I remember always being dead against sort of, I didn't want to do any college leavers. I was very much like, this is a high-end salon clinic. I want the very best, and that was that. And then, you know, I did actually happen to take on somebody who was still at college, and they turned out to be the best person I'd ever recruited. You know, yes, they weren't dedicated. Yes, they weren't up to scratch yet with treatments when they first came on, but wow, did they learn quickly.
Yeah.
And they turned out to be the very best. So, you know, you just gotta, I think we've got to be very open in these times, and yes, it's difficult, and yes, it takes time to train, but also just having a very strategic training plan as well, you know, having a very solid, this is what we're going to do, so by week 1 I need this to happen by week 2, and so on, you know. But unfortunately, it is the fact that you have to, regardless of whether someone's senior or not, there's still an element of training.
Definitely, because there's an element of training on the things that you want as a salon owner and how you want things to be done, and creating that path for the staff member. But there is a bit of an element as well of, obviously we're not going to go into the conversation of the training not being necessarily the best out there, and the industry is definitely suffering and seeing the repercussion of all of these issues we've had really with all of the training. So ultimately, it doesn't matter who it is, you are going to have to do an element of it. But if you don't take that time, it's becoming then a vicious circle, isn't it?
Definitely. It is, absolutely. And if you have got, you know, people that are interested in working for you that haven't got necessarily exactly what you're looking for, it is just about, or they're not qualified to the level that you need them to be qualified, then, you know, some people just want a chance in the industry as well. And, you know, it's very difficult for someone to get experience if no one will allow them to get the experience. So some people just want a chance in the industry, and actually if they just spend some time within your business, they can prove invaluable in different areas.
Definitely. You know, but it's knowing that you're, at the moment, is going to be less than perfect into what, and if the perfect person comes along, great. But you've got to be a lot more flexible in the way you're thinking into recruitment, into training. Maybe even is an element, if the budget allows you to invest in the training, outside training for that particular person. I'm not talking brand training necessarily, I'm talking a lot more specific. So we've got someone at the moment who's debating, you know, this particular therapist can do all the waxing, but intimate waxing is not been taught yet, or she's done it once, and it's like, right, tick, you've done it. So, well, she's debating, should I invest in her, etc. Well, you've got to look at the bigger picture, number one, and is the mindset of that particular therapist, you know, going to be good for you in the long run? But you can never, I remember thinking, if I've got a therapist or staff member for 2 years, I was happy. I don't know if it was a London thing as well, that I was in London, so you had more transient kind of staff.
I think so, because I think being in the outer areas,
it's not that simple.
No, but also it's just, I mean, I used to think I want someone to join me really forever. I was very lucky in the retention of my staff. You know, it was very good, and I only really ever had them leave if they were going on maternity or decided to go travelling or something like that. It was never to move on to another clinical salon, because I feel like if you're offering the right, what they want and what they enjoy, then there should be no reason for somebody to necessarily leave. Not that it's a bad thing, because people do, you know, want to move on or experience different clinics or salons. I think nowadays as well, it's just being more open-minded as to what you're taking somebody on for. So you can't just be, you know, I want someone who's only this highly qualified. For me, and well, it's always been for me, that it's about that individual, their drive, their passion, their willingness to work hard, because they're, you know, the way their mindset is, because actually if you've got somebody like that, wow, can you train them up very quickly into being, you know, the person that you, or the therapist, the stylist that you need them and want them to be. It's more about the attitude. So you're looking for that, not just the qualifications. So.
And I think sometimes we give the candidate a hard time on, like, they don't want to work, they don't want to do this and everything else. You know, when we talk to candidates, sometimes it's really tough for them. They've been promised the earth and we're going to do this with you, we're going to do that. And actually nothing materialised.
Yeah, they get in, you give them this to do, and then they don't have time to...
And then there's never anything promised. You've got some real gems out there that I don't feel we're highlighting necessarily. We're just talking about everything that's bad and everything that's not happening, but really you do have some gems out there that deserve more. But whether you can be investing in that, that's a whole different matter. But equally you have to start somewhere, because not everything's going to be so perfect that perfect person is going to come in and be exactly what you want her to be or him to be or they to be. It's just not going to happen. So you've got to kind of look at, what are my resources? If I don't have resources, can I actually outsource in order to grow that person's skills and grow what they need to do with the brands, without the brands, with some, because there's some really cool stuff happening as well as negative. And sometimes I feel in the industry we're highlighting everything that's wrong, which is good because it needs to have changes. And if you don't take that time, well, you are going to constantly have the business relying on you and constantly have the business that has an element of the training that is a bit of a drag when it shouldn't be. That's a big part of you as a salon owner, or any business, to be fair. To kind of grow the team and grow that individual. But we tend to have a very bleak way, because I haven't got time, I can't afford it, I've got this, you know, rising costs, but you've got to break that cycle at one point or another. And
it does come back to that as well, isn't it? Is what's your priority? Because you haven't got time, but, you know, can something else just go by the wayside? Because your priority is you need to get feet on the ground. So therefore you have to put the time in to the training and development of these people who you're needing to get into the business.
And sometimes, because we've got so much to deal with as a salon owner, and I say it again and again, you just want everyone to be settled and everything to be fine. But I've seen we've seen teams that I've had a team for 15 years, 20 years, and they're very much stuck in their own ways, and they're not growing the business because it's just been very routine-y, and therefore there's no more kind of growth into their training, their development, and where you want them to be. And it's allowing that person to think, okay, she's going to reach, or he's going to reach a certain level, he's going to want to do his own thing. Good for them. That's pure leadership, being able to I've been part of that journey.
Absolutely.
And letting go of them because you've been part of their journey and their growth.
And they've got to that place because of you, actually, and they're thankful for that.
It's amazing. It's an amazing feeling, but we're forgetting about that because we've got so many different angles to deal with as an owner, and we're not looking at that leadership and that engagement and that empowerment of that team, because it's about you at the moment, the budget, the rising costs, everything else becomes a massive burden.
So the last thing you want to do is to train
someone that hopefully is going to stay with me.
But
if you don't have that mindset, then you are going to be very much stuck in, personally I think, in the business that is going to rely a lot on just you.
Yeah.
So all you have to do now is press the subscribe button and join us every week for an Insight Chat.
And if you have any burning questions that we haven't yet answered, then just pop in the comments below or send us an email and we can include them in one of our weekly chats.
And also we have started this amazing community of like-minded salon owners to join us on a monthly basis with our Insight Chat subscription.
Yeah, on that chat as well, you'll also get access to lots of free downloads and content that can really support you in your business.
And thank you so much for listening.
And we'll see you next time.